that in as much as you want to deal with those matters which must be dealt with, especially to do with misconduct of a judicial officer, a very difficult balancing act must be there to protect especially the decisional independence of a judge. The moment that goes, we will all close our offices and go home. It will be chaos. And we often take that for granted.
All right, that is Justice Nduma Nderi of the Employment and Labor Relations Court. He was appearing before the JSC yesterday, making a case why he should be the CJ, and he's talking there about judicial independence, especially in disciplining misconduct among judicial officers. But there's something else I want us to listen to, and this is about one justice of the Court of Appeal, Lady Justice Martha Koome. She spoke about what she would do if she got to the office as Chief Justice and had to resolve the question of 41 judges, now 40, who are yet to be appointed by the President. Listen.
I will pick up a phone and fix an appointment with the appointing authority.
Does my lady have either an assurance that my lady's cause will be picked, or two, a way that will make my lady's cause be picked?
When I'm occupying this office authorizes me to pick up a call and ask to speak to His Excellency, the President. Even if it has been tried before and it has failed, I'm not the one who tried, so I must try it. I don't know anybody in the executive. The closest I came to His Excellency, the President of the Republic, is when he came here on launch of the State of the Judiciary report, and we were invited at the stairs there to take a picture.
Okay, that is Justice Martha Koome explaining, because now when she said she'd pick her call and call the President, one of the panelists, they asked her, the Chief Justice retired, that is David Maraga, is on record telling the nation that he has tried to book an appointment with the President. That was not possible. So what assurance do you have? And she says that actually, I've never met the President, but then again, the office gives her the power. I almost called you Justice.
She's aspiring.
Honorable Martha Wangari,
yes.
What are your thoughts about the process that is ongoing? Do you think the panel is focusing on the right questions that will give us the right candidate for the job? And as you answer that, tell me about what the CJ, the new CJ, must do to unlock the standoff about the 40 judges.
I think, Sam, it's been a very interesting week in terms of the vetting that has been going on and the interviews. And I think, I know many people have said, oh, we are being treated to theatrics, we are being treated to matters that are not punchy enough. But if you ask me, I think the qualifications are as important as the interpersonal skills of the person who occupies that seat. And it is not an easy seat, by the way. What is going on right now is also the same that is going on for IEBC in terms of independence. And we harp about it all the time, but in real sense, and what actually happens is that eventually you'll see there's still a hand behind, and the independence is impaired or it is affected. And I think we have seen that in the previous years, not just this time, but even before, even during Moi's time, in terms of controlling the judiciary. And I say that because even in Parliament, the three arms that exist, legislative, the judiciary, and the executive, you'll always have a bigger brother in a way. It may not be in the open out there, but it is always there. So what I'm hoping to see in the judiciary, and I think the retired CJ, Maraga, tried in terms of independence and asserting the independence of the judiciary, because it was not an easy decision to take to actually, you know, nullify an election, a presidential election. It was not an easy thing. It was courageous, and some have seen it as to be irresponsible, but for me, I think he stamped his authority in terms of defending the judiciary's independence. So I'm hoping that we can see a continuation of that. I'm hoping that we can also see, and being cordial does not mean you're controlled. What Martha Koome said is that it should be easy to call the president or call even the Speaker of Parliament if you want to clarify an issue. Right. But that does not mean that you'll only make rulings or you'll only make decisions that are actually controlled from elsewhere. So I'm hoping that we can see a balance of the two, that you can be able to deal with the boardroom issues, but when need be, and as always, the independence is protected. So I'm hoping that we can be able to see that assertion from this person who occupies the CJ's position. Okay. But more importantly, I hope the issue of the backlogs and dragging of cases will be dealt with, methodically. And I say this COVID time has changed a lot of things even in the judiciary. If you have a matter in court, I had some matter in court, and they're actually even texting you. They are telling you your ruling has been delivered on text messages. So it has also changed a lot in terms of physical appearances, in terms of the paperwork. So I'm hoping that we can get an automated kind of judiciary in terms of getting these rulings out, communicating to the people who are parties to the cases, and we see that it is actually adapting into the times.
Fred, because today is the day for Senior Counsel Fred Ngatia, and of course thereafter the President of the Court of Appeal, that is Justice William Ouko, will appear. I believe it's tomorrow. And then on Thursday there will be Professor Dr. Weke Samoni, excuse me, and finally Yano Alice Jepkoech on Friday. Throughout the process, does it help us to get the best fit for the job, and what are we looking for? Because apart from the qualification, many years behind you, what more are you looking for?
Thank you, Sam. First of all, I must congratulate the GSC panel for doing a good job, because it appears that they have adhered to the provisions and the requirements of GSC Act. Some of the, what people would call drama, I think they're emanating from the disclosure moments where the GSC panel is supposed to go into a private session for disclosure on issues that members have about an applicant. And they have turned out to be some of the most interesting, so that we learn about these applicants in public. Number two, there's a criteria that GSC must follow in interviewing the applicants. And that criteria has come out to be a very effective one. If you look at some of these applicants, they've come out to be very good communicators, because that's one of them. Professional skills, substantive understanding of law, and such likes. So for me, I think all the applicants that made it to the shortlisting have an equal chance. The ones that we have witnessed being interviewed before, since the last week, have also demonstrated some level of legal prowess and wizardry that we give them the benefit of doubt that should they make it, then they can be good CJs. But we are also yet to see some of the people that have been touted to be the best. Starting today, we are likely to see Senior Counsel Fred Ngatia. I wish him the best of luck, and also Ouko, we wish him the best of luck. But the most important thing is the suitability and competency and personal integrity that Kenyans would want to see, because that role we have seen in the past has come with a lot of consequences, especially when it comes to presidential election. And if you look at the consequences that we have seen, it has made enemies within the political ranks. And as a politician and a leader of a political party, I am very interested to see we have a Chief Justice that is bold, a Chief Justice that is suitable, a Chief Justice that is not only capable but also competent enough, because that is the only way that we shall adhere to the rule of law. So for me, in my assessment so far, I think JSC Act has been adhered to, the panelists have been doing a good job, the applicants have been bold and free to air out their views, and that is what is required of an applicant who appears before a panel. Okay,
all right, and Honorable Rosa Buyo, so talking about the Chief Justice will be the President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, the Chairperson of the Judicial Service Commission, and is likely to preside over an election, a presidential election petition like what happened in 2013 and 17. What is that we don't see? Apart from the 15 years of legal expertise or experience, what else makes one candidate suitable for that office as the head of one of the arms of government?
Of course, like my colleague has said, character. Character comes out a lot in the interviews. But what I also like about the interviews is each individual is being held to account for their past judgments or past experiences. so that today as I sit here as Rosa, whatever I say will affect whatever position I want in the future. So it just brings to call for all of us that whatever you do in this particular time, in whatever position you are in, it will come back to bite you later. And I like the fact that references are being made to past judgments that individual judges have made, and they are being brought to account, and they have to explain why they made that judgment, and if they would still make that judgment, and what impact, if any, did they think that the judgment had. So that alone would actually help Kenyans, and I'm saying Kenyans because this is live to all Kenyans, and the JSC to actually see what or how an individual judge would behave in a particular situation. I also like the fact that this is, you see, we are all talking about it as if we were part of JSC, the fact that it's live and we are all part of that interview. So eventually, whoever is picked, Kenyans will actually say, yes, that person was the right person, or that person was not the right person. Why was that person picked? So what Honorable Martha said about Maraga, which I'd also like to say, is he did bring independence to the judiciary. It was a really bold thing that he did. But I also want to support Martha Koome when she says that she's not going to have that defeatist attitude, that it has been tried before and it failed, so I'm just going to sit and moan about 41 judges, there's nothing we can do, so that we are always at parallel or at loggerheads with the government. In that position, she has the power, she has the authority, like she said, and picking her phone and calling the president, who's the president of this country, and who is the one withholding the appointment of the 41 judges, is not playing second fiddle to the president. It's actually taking responsibility and knowing that there's an opportunity to unlock that issue. So I think I would go with what she says, because if you start being defeatist, if you start being a pessimist, there is no way you are going to run the country or run the judiciary part of the country. You must always try
Is there any political qualification you need?
I don't think to become a
Become Chief Justice, head of
political qualification.
Yes.
My God, so you're saying a political, for example, you're saying my party leader, Mheshimiwa Honorable Raila Odinga, if he had that background, he would actually go and contest to be a JSC. I think, no.
About the political skills of a candidate.
Oh, you're saying skills. I thought political alliances. No. You do need, I don't want to call it political skills, but you need to know how to deal and to talk and to handle all the situations and all the segments, because obviously politics also is a major part of, runs the country also, okay? So you need to be able to deal with politicians, to deal with professionals, to deal with advocates, like my colleague there. You need to be able to have that character that can bring people together and that consult and that can have a listening ear to all the issues that different segments of the country would bring. But you don't need to be a politician or to be affiliated to any political party. No.
That's an interesting answer. I'm just wondering who determines who has those political skills. Is it the JSC themselves, or are there other forces? Because she said that there are certain hands in certain matters. But as you respond to that, in June last year, Chief Justice then, David Maraga, said that there was a backlog of cases of 36,900 in the Employment and Labor Relations Court, Environment and Land Court, as well as the Court of Appeal, of which the JSC had nominated 41 judges for appointment. Of course, one of them died, that is Harrison Ogweno Okeche, in a road accident last year. So this backlog remains, and probably even more. And it appears to be a consistent question for all the panelists. So how should it get resolved? Because the reasons why the executive or the president refused to appoint them, they haven't changed. Or was it a question of personalities with the CJ?
I think let's break it down first. The ideal Chief Justice, the ideal candidate for CJ must have the necessary poise and grace, judgment and temperament, intellectual rigor and capacity. And above all, he must understand the interplay of the law and politics. Having said that, the Chief Justice must do nothing about the pending appointments of the 40 judges. He must do nothing, because once the JSC has made the recommendation on appointment of judges and the matter has been litigated, and I represented the Law Society of Kenya in that case at the High Court, and a 3-judge bench, Justice Chacha Mwita, Justice Lydia Chode, and Justice James Makau held that the president has no discretion. He must appoint the judges. So what the Chief Justice must do is to defer the problem of the failure to comply with court orders and the failure to appoint the judges to the political wing of government and the civil society. We do not anticipate that the Chief Justice, as Justice Martha Koome has intimated, will pick up a phone call to start negotiating compliance with court orders. And that's what I said. If you get too much involved in impunity, observing impunity, you may begin to become sympathetic. I think the judiciary should be very cautious in how it involves itself in political questions. Once it has made a determination, it is functus officio. There are other actors that must speak it up from there. And Honorable Rosabu is here, Honorable Martha is here. They should be taking the president to task, asking the president, why are you not appointing the judges? The JSC Act is very clear. Once the Judicial Service Commission makes a recommendation, it is irreversible. That matter has been litigated. The question was taken in the High Court. Does the law permit the president to reconsider the nominees? It has been answered definitively that he has no leeway. How then does the Chief Justice pick a phone call to start negotiating court orders? Because if he can do that, if the Chief Justice can do that, then it means there is no limit on what the executive can do and expect negotiation. Next time you sue government, they will fail to attend court, and because you've already opened a pathway for negotiation, you may then pick your call and ask them, why are you not attending court? You see, the problem, the danger, the rule of law. Listen, I'm a practitioner. I have my stake as a practitioner and as a member of the LSK is limited. If it comes outside the realm of governance, my core interest is that the Chief Justice should expedite the hearing and determination of cases. He should be able to build collegiality. But what I'm talking about is for the public interest. The rule of law is a critical but fragile ideal.
So, Advocate Ogola, just a question. When you talk about the CJ should not intervene in the 40 judges.
He has no role.
So what happens? Can JSC go ahead and make other recruitments and recommend to the same president?
This is what must happen. In a perfect constitutional setting, there is a presumption there in the law that we form part of a conveyor belt, that once we do our part, the next person will do their part, and we have no role going beyond what you are permitted in law to do.
Sam, nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect. And I'm happy that you're saying in a perfect, nothing is perfect. We are looking for things that work. And what Martha is talking about is not to go and negotiate with the president.
It's not that.
It's not negotiation.
Okay.
I think it would be very unfair for us to misquote Martha Koome to mean that we will be talking about matters that are active in the judiciary. And he has said very well, he's a member of the LSK. We have seen their president come to parliament, have a chit-chat with the leadership of parliament. That does not mean that you agree with everything, even as the president of LSK. You know, it is the interplay he's talking about of politics, not to influence the decisions, but to make sure that before you treat us to a press conference of how someone is not picking your calls, you have exhausted all avenues to actually talk about this thing. And
let me show you how that let me show you how that interplay is supposed to happen.
Just a moment. Let's hear Fred what he has to say about this.
I think it is important to understand first that before we are independent as institutions, we are interdependent. That's a fact. Number two, when you listen to Martha, Justice Martha Koome, I think what she's trying to say is that, first of all, she would be willing to demonstrate the commitment to public and then community service elements. Because that's the time when now you can actually relate better with other institutions, because you are committed to that community and you are committed to public service. It doesn't mean that you are negotiating with another head of government or institution to make things easy for you. So in my understanding interpretation is that the requirement in the Judicial Service Act, when in section 13, when now the JSC panel is recruiting these, you must demonstrate that you are willing to devote yourself to the public service and community elements. That elements
so is it just a question of...
Sam, you know, have to clarify the interplay.
Yes, you will. You have the final word on this.
Sam, how do you unlock an impasse? And Martha Koome is actually offering a solution as to how she'll unlock that impasse. that has already been created. When she's going to talk to the president, probably all she's going to tell the president is, look, this and this and this and this and this and this is how it's supposed to go. I don't think she's going there to negotiate and say, do this and then. I don't think, she's just being alive politically, which is what is also saying that you need a JSC, a Chief Justice, who's also alive to what's going on around them.
Okay.
And by her talking to the president or looking for, by her picking her phone and calling the president and discussing that matter, probably that is what the president needs.
Okay.
Because sometimes you make decisions, but when now it comes from her and she's actually able to show him that this and this and this, maybe the impasse would be solved. But it does not mean that she's going to negotiate and she's going to sell the independence
to
of
public
the
service.
And just
that
to clarify
is
here,
a demonstration of maturity,
all right,
a demonstration of understanding that she lives in a world that is not as perfect as the advocate would like it.
Honorable Buyi, just to clarify here, it's not just Justice Martha Koome who spoke about the 41 judges. All the other candidates have been asked this question, and majority of them are saying that they would have an opportunity, or they would seek an opportunity to have a negotiation and understand what is the problem and why the judges are not in office, but they have been very clear that the judges have to be in office, yes, based on the procedure. But now, I asked you a question here. Can the Judicial Service Commission start another process of recruiting other judges after what it has suffered with all these judges not yet appointed since 2019?
The short answer is yes. The Judicial Service Commission itself becomes functus officio once it has made the recommendation. And it will recruit based on the need. So if there's another need beyond the 40 judges that are now that remain and so on, they will commence. But I think I need to explain the interplay of law and politics. The incoming Chief Justice must understand how to preserve and to advance courtesy, committee, and mutuality between the office of the Chief Justice and that of the President. There are some things that the Chief Justice Emeritus, David Maraga, did, which I find disturbing in the sense that he was pushed to the edge and he had to react. But in a perfect setting, he ought not to have done so. You cannot stand at the footsteps of the Supreme Court and publicly antagonize the President. You shouldn't be drawn to that level of desperation as the Chief Justice, right? Because when you do so, the President has a real political constituency and you don't. Now, in a country that is polarized around ethnic solidarity, people will begin to look at C.J. Maraga and say he comes from Nyanza, and therefore he's being used by some forces. You saw that happening with Justice Odonga. And therefore the question,
because there has to be a new Chief Justice after...
What I'm saying is, and we will lose this point, Sam, yeah? The point is this. There are matters that the Chief Justice, as a matter of necessity, must have open line communication with the President.
True.
He or she must consult and meet the President to discuss things that bring mutuality and courtesy and preserve the interbranch committee. But there is a limit to it. And what I'm saying that, and what I differ with Honorable Martha and Honorable Rosa Buyu, you cannot approbate and reprobate compliance with the law. There are certain areas that the law does not permit. You cannot expand the scope of courtesy and committee and mutuality beyond what is anticipated in the law. One of those areas that is not permitted by anyone, and I can tell you these judges, when they answer that question, they anticipate the reaction from JSC, because the JSC has 4 people who has the ear of the President. The Attorney General is sitting at the JSC and is going to make a decision who's the next Chief Justice. He's representing the President there. The person representing the public, Professor Olive Mugenda,
and Felix Koske.
The other gentleman, I mean, the President has at least 4 people representing his interests, and these are people who are critical in making a decision. You get? No. You will make a decision.
Well, that's interesting.
So are you saying they're not genuine in the answers they're playing to
I can tell you, there's an answer that is accurate to the JSC, but even those judges know. They know, because they are practitioners of the law. You cannot sit to negotiate non-compliance
so these answers
with the judgment.
To pass the interview.
You're saying it, not me.
You actually said it without saying
you are saying it, not, but,
all right.
But
so,
you can't sit to negotiate, Sam.
I don't think anybody wants
you cannot sit to negotiate.
I hear you. It's very clear. It's very clear, and it's now 7:30, and we need to take a short break. Today,
before that break, can I just say something? Can I just say something? I just want to know, and I'm going to say this. these lawyers and advocates must give Kenya an opportunity to have a country that works, you know? Because going to talk to the president is not about negotiating. It's about moving, it's about explaining and probably letting him see with more seriousness what this entails. That's not negotiating. We cannot be so stiff and fast, you know, like the advocate is trying to say, because nobody's bending the rule here. Kenya is not, life is not about this. If this doesn't happen, then let us just remain like this forever. That is not how a country will move. You know?
Okay, all right.
People need to talk. People.
All right, Senior Counsel Fred Ngati appears before the JSC today. Will he be the Chief Justice? It's in the hands of the JSC and himself. So let's take a break. When we come back, we talk about another commission that has suffered a lot of challenges when it comes to independence. That is the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, or is it? We talk about that because the vacancies have been gazetted 3 years later, and the process should begin before the end of the month because the law requires that a selection panel is appointed in 14 days after the gazettement. We'll talk about that.